to start the session, the first we can say first session is on skill, entrepreneurship development, and employability challenges and opportunities. This aspect will be covered by Professor B. Charumadi, head of the Department of Management Studies. So she will be the opening bets.
Thank you, sir. Can I share my presentation?
Yeah, please go ahead. Rather, I should say opening batswoman.
Yes. Just a minute. Is it visible, sir?
Yes, madam, visible.
Yeah. So a very good morning to all present here. So in our country, we have great thinkers and we have great policies. As rightly said by our leader and authorities, we have enough of policies. Now the implementing challenges and opportunities. So when we go through the NEP 2020, it is talking about reimagining the Indian education. So while reimagining the Indian education, they are concentrating on three aspects from the skills point of view. So the NEP 2020 recommends vocational education that should be integrated into all school and higher educational institutions in a phased manner over the next decade. Then second, they are giving thrust on vocational and skill education of students to prepare employable youth. And third, the silos of science, humanities, commerce curriculum should be broken down and it should be replaced with a flexible, multidisciplinary, competency-based curriculum of choice. And now the topic of this webinar is NEP 2020, 1 year of transformation. So they had some promises to keep and the miles to go when they had this policy formed. So the first year of the policy focused on three efforts that were needed to effectively be implemented by the higher educational institutions. So the first important point is galvanization of intellectual consciousness among the stakeholders regarding the vision and objectives of the NEP. And second important point is developing internal capacities within the ministry and other regulatory bodies. Here, the important point stressed upon by our leader, the implementation is the key for success. One has to reckon with. Then important reform initiatives as a prelude to the implementation that is now taking place in the past 1 year. And coming to our Indian scenario, India is one of the youngest nations in the world with more than 62% of its population in the working group, that is 15 to 59 years, and more than 54% of its total population is below 25 years of age. So during the next 20 years, the labor force in the industrial world is expected to decline by 4% around the world. But while in India, it will decrease by 32%. So this poses a formidable challenge and a huge opportunity for India. To reap this demographic dividend, which is expected to last for next 25 years, India needs to equip its workforce with employable skills and knowledge so that they can contribute substantially to the economic growth of the country. Coming to the skill, employability and entrepreneurship development, you know, you will be very heartening and shocked to know that only 50% of our Indian graduates are employable. I have that report slide also. I will take that again. So these three aspects, when students are skilled enough, they are employable. When they are employable, they can work for other companies or they can start on their own. So these are the integrated efforts or these are the aspects which could be integrated and can be helped by higher educational institutions. Now coming to the skill and employability, in that here we are concentrating on 3 skills. So because business, especially after the great recession period, we have been facing VUCA situation. As the entire world is now financially and digitally connected, the demand for trained graduates from reputed business organizations, employees who are competent in both hard and soft skills. So here, these are the 3 skills our educational institutions should concentrate on. I hope you're able to hear me.
Madam, your slides are not moving, ma'am. Can you check that?
Oh,
Only
Not-
title slide is showing up.
okay. Now,
Yeah.
now,
Yeah, I could see the slide.
now, can you see the demographic dividend, madam?
It is at 5th slide, madam.
Yeah.
Yes.
Can you?
Skill, employability, entrepreneurship. That slide
Yeah,
is
now
showing
I
up.
think now it is moving, right?
We could see only one slide. Are you progressing?
No, skill employment.
So we are seeing skill and employability. Yeah.
Yes. Oh. So the academic skills, technical skills, and employability skills are supposed to be provided in institution. Now they have to have required policies in place. Now I'm moving to the next slide. Can you see the movement? Yeah. So less than half of the Indian graduates are employable. This is the report.
No,
Yes.
that slide is not coming. You have to go to the next slide. Maybe you can do it manually. Yeah. Yeah. Now it's right. Now you are on the right slide. Yeah.
So less than half of the graduates are employable, and here instilling the right skills and knowledge base can form the building blocks of our economy, taking growth to a new height. So coming to the components of skill ecosystem, I'm given only 20 minutes, so I'm very brief in my presentation. Any more discussion, we can take it in the discussion panel. So these are the components. So as a key bodies, we have National Skill Development Corporation and the ministry. We have a separate ministry which is formed in the year 18. And so that ministry is having lot of other institutions. I will be showing the list of institutions, including the skill universities. And in the second stage, we are having implementing bodies. Implementing bodies, our university is one among that. Clear, all the schools, colleges, universities, assessment companies, then ITIs, training providers, all these people come under the implementing bodies. Of course, beneficiaries, you can see the students, unemployed youth, existing employees, and including the PWDs, etc. Now, the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship, they have their vision statement. What is the vision statement they had? Unlock human capital to trigger a productivity dividend and bring aspirational employment and entrepreneurship pathways to all. So this MSDE's Vision 2025 adopts an ecosystem enabling lens to transition India to a high skill equilibrium and help create positive outcomes for individuals, enterprises, and the economy. So the 3 outcomes to be achieved through this vision are enable individual economic gains and social mobility, create a skills market that is learner-centric and demand-driven, and facilitate aspirational employment and entrepreneurship generation that improve overall productivity for enterprises and catalyze economic growth. Now, these are the major institutions the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship has. DGT, Directorate of General of Training, National Council for happened in the past 1 year. A National Skill Development Fund has been created. And of course, we had earlier National Institute for the Entrepreneurship and Small Business Development, then Indian Institute of Entrepreneurship, that is NIMI, that is for media related training, then Central Staff Training Research Institute and Directorate of Jan Shikshan Sansthan. This is the very, very latest initiative taken by the ministry. And I'll be giving the report card, what they have done so far. 25,000 Skill India centers have been established. 4,000 courses are being offered under this. 38 sectors are identified as under the Skill Sector Council, and they are now operational. And every year, nearly 1 crore youth join the Skill India mission to get trained. And 14,700 training centers were identified and they were established. 300 short-term courses are being offered. And 1.2 lakh trainings on digital skills alone have been provided. And recognizing the prior learning of the youth is also facilitated through vocational education outfit. And COVID-19 frontline warrior programs have also been offered. A national apprenticeship promotion scheme has been given lot of importance to train the youth of our country. So all these dimensions, they are working for the past 5 years, because when the NEP 2020 was formulated and the vision of the government was in 15 itself, they developed this National Skill Development Mission. And all these 5 years they have been working. Now NEP is now converging into this National Skill Development Mission. And the 1 year they have done so many achievements. So where our university has scope to start any program or collaboration. So to that, I'm having another slide. There is 38 sector skill councils have been identified. So autonomous industry-led bodies by National Skill Development Corporation, that is NSDC, is facilitating this particular skill sector council. So even we can collaborate, our university can collaborate, and I think it is the right place to mention that our Vice Chancellor has taken a very good initiative that this Institute of Cost Accountants of India is going to sign MOU with our university, and we are going to have shortly the meeting. After I had a brief discussion with them, I come to know a lot of opportunities because they have advanced studies as a branch. So in that advanced studies, any department from School of Management can collaborate and they can offer some kind of online courses, and we can provide joint certifications for them. So what these 38 sector skill councils are doing, if you take the example of the skill councils, these are the areas. So if I take, we have 38, but I could immediately connect some of the low-hanging fruits like BFSI sector, School of Management can think of leveraging on. And second, I could say this life sciences sector, health care sector, and then we also have media and entertainment skill council. So these are the areas and logistic sector which the IB department can, then ITES sector skill council. So our university can become a partner for all the skill council sectors, and we can actually bring some joint certification or joint programs. And because these are the certifications which are respected in the industry, and credibility is there for the certification. So skill certification has become the order of day. Unless you have a certification given by a credible agency or professional academic body or professional bodies per se, we are not getting employable graduates. So simply, as our Vice Chancellor rightly put it, simply we are producing graduates and they are not employable. So what skills and what competencies are required by the industry, those things are now channelized through the skill council sectors, and we can appropriately partner with these. And again, we have some more tourism and hospitality is there, and we have skill council for green jobs. So Retailers Association, another very good example. I have taken already the efforts for partnering with this Retailers Association of India. So they have Retail Varsity, which is an online university. They wanted to collaborate with Pondicherry University to offer joint degree program, joint certificate, joint diplomas, because this is one industry or sector in which there is a lot of job potential available. So it may be for store management, it may be for analytics, it may be for sales. So they have 20 modules, and which could be integrated into our MBA curriculum in the marketing aspect or any other HR related, finance related, which is the skill required for the retail industry. So these are the opportunities available for our university. So why we need skill certification? Because we have low level of trained workforce, and National Council for Vocational Education and Training has standardized skill certification systems for 4,000 odd job roles. So there is a lot of advantage available when we have this certification. So even during the pandemic, I connected one of the consultancy firm which is providing the skill sector program free of cost. And I connected this firm to Pothys, and 200 employees from the retail background got trained, and they got now certification from the government, Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So that will make them very relevant for the industry, and they can have better job opportunities for them. So as I told you, this is the example which we are going to count. Certificate in Accounting Technician is the course which is provided by Institute of Cost Accountants of India. So this is again from the BFSI, Banking Finance Sector Skill Council of India. So you may visit these sector councils which are very relevant to your department, how you can collaborate and how your students can get additional certification. Because just the MBA alone, from my perspective, I'm saying only degree alone may not be. So what is the skill and competency required by the industry from your students that we have to provide in the form of certification? So you have to see that the curriculum is also aligned towards that, because students may be finding it difficult to read another curriculum which requires certification. So now I will give my own example, the Spark project on IFRS. So we started providing training for this as a finance elective I offered. Now the certification can be received from ICAI or ACCA or some other professional accounting body. So when they go out of the department, they will be most sought after IFRS consultants by the industry. So this is about the skills and employability. And the next topic is entrepreneurship. So this is the innovation ecosystem we have in our educational institutions. So I am having lesser time, so I will move this slide. Maybe I will explain or discuss some point. So coming to initiatives taken by the government. So a lot of flagship programs have been introduced, and Niti Aayog, which replaced Planning Commission, and it has outfit under that they are doing a lot of initiatives. So they thought it should be in a phased manner, so they started with the schools. So when the formative years, when they are their critical thinking and the design thinking concept should be introduced, so they started a program called Atal Tinkering Labs at school levels. Then they had the Mentor India program. Then at the colleges and university level, they introduced Atal Incubation Centers. And after that, they also had Atal Community Innovation, because Atal Incubation Centers were established in many colleges and universities, and they were given lot of funding to the tune of 10 crore. And after they realized that before we initiate the design thinking concept in the mind of the youth, it is very difficult to come out with the prototype or the ideas. So first thing is you have to create innovation in ecosystem in the higher educational institutions. That is why they started this Atal Community Innovation Center. I am very happy to state here that with the help of our leader and the authorities, we are able to get shortlisted shortlisted for this Atal Community Innovation Center establishment, and shortly we are going to launch that program, and I think more stakeholders will be benefited. And again, to invite any kind of new ideas from anyone in the country, Atal New India Challenge has been introduced, wherein every now and then the Niti Aayog Atal Innovation Mission is calling for ideas, hackathons, appathons, and competitions. Lot of things are going on. Please visit these things, and we can just tell our students, just create awareness among our students. These are the websites which gives more information about these entrepreneurship related. And when I say this entrepreneurship development, what is the framework that we have for higher educational institution? That is the next thing, right? So now here the new education policy is really giving lot of importance for the skill, employability, and entrepreneurship. So when I took the major features of NEP, these are the 5 items. Again, these 5 items are related to skill, employability, and entrepreneurship. See, education for employability. A focus on essential subjects, skills, and capabilities relevant for all. And self-reliance, Atmanirbhar, the spirit of entrepreneurship. Then impetus to entrepreneurial revolution. Then integrating vocational elements. So what are the plan of action as rightly put by all our leaders? Strong institutional incentives should be developed, because the implementation is the key. We have lot of good policies, but what is the status of implementation? So while empowerment of higher educational institution, can you see the slide? While empowerment of higher educational institutions and provisions of incentives will form the core of the plan of action, these efforts need to be continuously monitored and assessed. So for this also, lot of organizations are being established. And as a university, as a central university, we have a lot of responsibility to implement this NEP, and we are in the right track that we are having this discussion and workshop and webinar to discuss on how to take this forward. And coming to the main aspects of, so here I have to say about what is that background that we have. Is there any platform wherein we can think of this innovation and startup? So we had National Innovation Startup Policy, which was released during 2019. And it has a lot of major features which would help the students and the faculty to take up the employment, to take up the entrepreneurship activities. And here, you know, the higher educational institutions are expected to establish processes and mechanisms for easy creation and nurturing of startups, enterprises by students, UG, PG, PhD, then staff, including temporary or project staff, faculty, alumni, and potential startup applicants, even from the outside institution. So we have, you can see the items, major features. I am giving only the relevant features which our educational institution can take up, because the governance promoting innovation, here we need to have some mechanism. So that is what they are highlighting. Here we have to create innovation pipeline, pathways for entrepreneurship, building organizational capacity, human resources, and incentives. And second one is relating to the norms for faculty and student-driven innovations and startup. Here we have to provide incentives to the faculty and students for taking up entrepreneurial activities. And what are the norms for faculty startup? So they have given lot of information about that as well. So higher educational institutions like universities should allow their students to take a semester or year break, or even more depending upon the decision of review committee constituted by the institute. What for? To work on their startups and rejoin academics to complete the course. So our Vice Chancellor has rightly pointed out, after a break also one can come back to the learning mode. Clear? And here we have the academic bank of credit, wherein we can maintain all the credentials. And student entrepreneurs may earn academic credits for their efforts while creating an enterprise. Institute should set up a review committee for review of startup by students, and based on progress made, it may consider giving appropriate credits for academics as well. Then allow faculty and staff to take off a semester or year break, like, or even more, depending again on the review committee constituted by the institute. The leave can be sabbatical, unpaid leave, casual leave, earned leave for working on startups and coming back. Institution should also consider allowing use of its resource to faculty, students, staff wishing to establish startup as a full-time effort. The seniority and other academic benefits during such period may be preserved for such staff and faculty. So this is about the important features of National Innovation and Startup Policy, which facilitates the entrepreneurial ecosystem in the higher educational institution. Now, coming to the challenges in the skilling and entrepreneurship landscape in India. So, as rightly pointed out by our Vice Chancellor, the perception is a big problem, public perception, that views skilling as the last option meant for those who have not been able to progress or have opted out of the formal academic system. And the second important challenge is skill development programs of the central government are spread across more than 20 ministries. I think this issue is already getting solved because they have integrated all these institutions under the Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. So here the coordination and monitoring mechanisms are going to come. And the third important issue is multiplicity in assessment and certification systems that lead to inconsistent outcomes and causes confusion among the employers. So that is why now the skill sector councils are established. So any individual training academy can also give certification. Is it credible enough? So that is why the skill sector council given certifications are respected by the industry concerned. Then fourth important challenge we have is paucity of trainers, inability to attract practitioners from industry as a faculty. So for this, some more regulations are getting formulated so that we can invite more faculty, more people from the industry to come for maybe exchange program or whatever by way of MOUs. Then mismatch between demand and supply at the sectoral and spatial levels, and limited mobility between skill and higher education programs and vocational education. So this is what now getting resolved by the new education policy. So now anybody can take up any kind of skill or any degree, diploma, vocational, whatever the way they wanted to go about. And very low coverage of apprenticeship programs. And now that is also resolved by way of that National Apprenticeship Training Program, which is established very recently. And now they have also set up a fund for that. And all the important features are covered in that. The narrow and often obsolete skill curricula. So coming to this skill curricula is to be taken care of. That will be done by our educational institutions. So this would be my last slide, and I have more points, but with this initiatives I will conclude because you know what are the investments, recent developments and government initiatives taken. So if you take in June 2021, so within this 1 year itself, so many initiatives to facilitate the implementation of the NEP 2020 has been done. So first one, you see Amazon India launched machine learning summer school to help students learn new skills, and domestic service providers have formed a joint venture with foreign players. And here I have to say the examples. That is GMR Aviation Academy and UAE-based Emirate Group Security will jointly offer various aviation and security courses in India. And in May 2021, the Institute of Health and Management Australia announced its plan to offer scholarship worth ₹10 crore to nurses in India to recognize their commitment and dedication amid COVID-19 pandemic. So the scholarship will be offered to those nurses undertaking the Gateway to Global Nursing Program. So these are all supported by Government of India departments, that is Ministry of Skill Development and Entrepreneurship. And in May 2021, BITS School of Management joined forces with London Business School. This partnership will focus on 3 segments: student engagement program, LBS faculty teaching at BITS home, and develop developing joint executive programs in the space of women leadership. So this is another flagship program, which is a model we can also emulate. Then we have this Virohan Healthcare EduTech startup, which provides vocational training for paramedics. Then Education India, that India's academic partner and a startup in the field of education, is said to invest 20 crore in school acquisition model. So the company is planning to have more than 200 schools on lease module until 2023. Then again, Union Education Minister launched My NEP 2020 platform of the NCTE web portal. So the platform seeks to invite suggestions, imports, so all these things, and especially it is giving impetus to mentoring program membership and other things by the faculty members. And in January 2021, troops of the Indo-Tibetan Border Police launched an internet tools-based learning center for school-going children in a Naxal violence-affected districts of Chhattisgarh. And finally, E9 initiative is a very, very important initiative they have taken. India, along with Bangladesh, Brazil, China, Egypt, Indonesia, Mexico, Nigeria, and Pakistan, joined United Nations E9 initiative, which is the first of the three-phased process to co-create an initiative on digital learning and skills, targeting marginalized children and youth, especially girls. And in the Union Budget 21-22, government has placed major emphasis on strengthening the country's digital infrastructure for education by setting up NDR, I think, which Professor Chitralekha may cover. So what is the road ahead? With the industry demands rapidly changing, it is crucial for higher education institutions to address employability challenges by matching students' learning outcomes with evolving labor market needs. And it is very imperative for educational institutions to redefine the education system. I think already we have set up a committee to bring about this in a way that it caters to the different needs of the students and equips them with the credentials needed to remain relevant in the industry and add value over time. And now, next important road, what we can think of is establishing links with industry and employers, which is very, very crucial. And now our university has taken a lot of initiatives. Now we are members of CII, members of MMA, and all these associations. Even every school can think of what kind of professional bodies they can have membership and association, so that we can ensure quality of education and employability. And in alignment with the NISP, because the national education policy was in and NSAP was introduced in 1990. These three are really in alignment, which will revolutionize the higher education landscape in India, what in terms of upskilling. So the ministry is saying skilling, reskilling, and upskilling. These are the three focus areas. So they have to learn the skills which are not required. They have to relearn the required. So skilling, reskilling, and upskilling are the important areas. So employability and actually it helps universities to better the university ranking, and external and internal stakeholders will need to work together to create inspiring, inclusive, and sustainable future of education. So with this, I conclude my talk because I have some more things which I reserved for this discussion. Like what are the takeaways, what are the drivers, current drivers. So all the things I reserve it for this discussion forum. Thank you for the opportunity. I also have a few slides which we may submit to the authorities so that the committee can take some suggestions from this.
Thank you.